days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, Alex, and we get to get into some of this 49ers news coming off a disappointing loss to the Colts. There is a lot of things going on. Kyle Shanahan had a press conference and really talked about some interesting stuff, and we get to get all into it, but there's roster moves, there's injuries, there's injury updates, and there's a player signing, so we definitely got to talk about it.
Sure, there's a lot of news, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of comments, a lot of things and emotions swirling out there. And that's okay. It's okay to be emotional right now and to have emotions, strong, negative, positive. All of them are fine. And we're here to discuss all of those things. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us get to 2K. We're so close. But let's dive into this thing and let's dive into what's going on. First and foremost, a starting quarterback was announced already.
Yeah.
That was crazy, especially after comments post-game and people feeling like Kyle wasn't sure. You know, I guess, people were saying, he was saying, basically saying, I guess we got to go with Jimmy. He just flat out came and said it yesterday, technically. Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo's the starting quarterback.
Yeah, he was clarifying what his comments were. He had to find out that if Jimmy Garoppolo's calf had responded well in the game, if he was going to be healthy, to be able to go. And he said once he found out Jimmy was healthy, that he's going to go with Jimmy. And so right now, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter, and then he gave a little bit of an idea about why Trey Lance wouldn't be ready to go. He's had 2 weeks off from practice, and he wants this guy to go in there and have practice. And he believes that Wednesday's practice he's going to be limited in what he can do because he's coming off the injury. He called it significant, so it must have been a pretty good knee sprain. And now Trey's got to kind of work back into shape and work back into it. So. It's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo for the Bears. I think that there's going to be opportunity for Trey Lance to play in that game. And if Jimmy plays well, Jimmy will play the most part of the game. But if Jimmy struggles early on in this football game, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey Lance in a bigger amount because Kyle Shanahan knows they need to win football games. He's going to do whatever he has to do to win football games because even though there's not pressure on him to lose his job, there is pressure on him to make this team win. And he knows it can slowly slip away. The quicksand is grabbing them and pulling them under, and they need to respond now. They need to get out in front of this. They need to win this game against Chicago. And if they do, they'll feel a lot better about 3-4 than they would about 2-5.
Yes, 100% yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with this situation here, what's going on. But yeah, I 100% expect if Jimmy struggles early in this game, like you brought up and talked about, them to make a move, whether that's Trey Lance permanently for the game or just getting Trey Lance in more often to get Jimmy off the field, to give Trey opportunities to make plays with his feet, with his arm, whatever it is, and really keep the Bears on their heels, especially with the news that Matt Nagy now is most likely missing the football game because he tested positive for COVID. So Matt Nagy may not even be on the field, so you may be without your head coach. Yes, he'll still be involved in the game planning, but now you're leaving up execution to your coordinator. You're leaving up your defensive coordinator now to maybe do more scheming than he normally would potentially do. I don't know how things go there with Matt Nagy, their head coach, and how involved he is with the defensive game plan, but he definitely has a say. Might not have as much of a say or as much hands-on help with the game planning now with the defense and the offense. Could be a positive thing, could be a negative thing. Time will tell, obviously, with that. But no, I mean, this is going to be something now that's even one more hassle for them to prepare for now. If Trey is healthy and good to go, and Kyle does want to pull the trigger because Jimmy struggles early, one more juggling act for the Bears defense to have to figure out, what to do in what situations. Is this a permanent thing? Is this a temporary thing? What it is? So we'll see. We'll see what impact this has. Again, 49ers fans are going to be mixed on this, obviously. People are going to be calling for Kyle's head for this. People are going to be calling for Jimmy's head for this. Trey, not 100% healthy. I don't want a not healthy Trey Lance out there. So much for protecting the quarterback. Apparently that it only applies, when he runs the ball 15 times. It doesn't apply when, in this case, in this scenario.
Well, I mean, everyone's feeling their back against the wall. I mean, the 49ers have their back firmly against the wall now. Jimmy Garoppolo for sure has his back against the wall, and they need to respond in a big way and prove that, they can still have an opportunity to make something out of this season and not turn completely to, going and building for the future. It is still early enough, and this is one of those pivotal games, though. This is a huge one. Last week was pivotal, but this one is the absolute pivotal one, especially for Jimmy Garoppolo. He has to go out, he has to execute,
Yep.
he has to hit the open receivers that are open, and he needs to take advantage. I think that, Kyle's, making sure he gives this guy the opportunity, and I believe what he says about Trey Lance. If Trey Lance would have practiced last week, this could have been a tougher decision for him. But since he didn't, he sat out because of the injury. It is a little bit of a different decision, and he's right. He does need to have practice. He's still a rookie. It's not a veteran quarterback coming back from an injury that has a full understanding of this offense that could get right into a game planning and going against a very tough Bears defense and understand what you're supposed to do, where Jimmy will understand protections and coverages and that sort of thing. But we are getting to that point. It is that time now where it is put up or shut up for Jimmy Garoppolo. There's not going to be more chances after this, I don't believe.
And it should
yeah.
be. It should be based on some of the stuff we've seen so far. All 22 films not 100% out yet, but clips have started to emerge. Some of those clips, man, not good. Decision making, not on point. He missed some spots. Kyle talked about in his presser too a little bit about how Jimmy on one of the picks, he wishes he had gone to another area of the field with the football and wanted him to go to another area of the field with the football.
He wants him to go to Sanu for the big play.
For the touchdown?
Yeah.
Because it was probably going to be a touchdown. If it wasn't a touchdown, it was going to be at least 50 or 60 yards. He's wide open.
Oh, 100%. He goes to Debo and he gets picked off by Xavier Rhodes. And really, like Kyle said, it's not that it's a bad choice because Debo's a big time receiver. It's the location of the football. And you've got a situation where it's raining, so you're not going to be so precise. So why are you trying to force it there, right? You have to think about those things. And Jimmy still tries to force it there, throws it inside. Xavier Rhodes made a great play, picks it off, and house calls. I guess it ended up not being a house call.
Would have house called if his little baby portion of his toe his heel hadn't touched the sideline.
That is true. But Mohamed Sanu was wide open on the play, and Jimmy missed him. Jimmy didn't diagnose the defense right, and it ends up being a huge play. And in fact, it ends up eventually the Colts punch it in and put the nail in the coffin for the 49ers.
True.
So yeah, I think that this is it. Jimmy had a bad performance. Jimmy needs to step up and prove that he can do better than that. There's no way around it. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the facts. It's like we've said for a long time. If somebody's playing bad, we're going to tell you they're playing bad, and Jimmy didn't play good in this game.
No, man, we're just apologists. We just apologize. We're apologists for Jimmy. We're apologists for
I don't apologize for seeing the football game the way I see it.
I'm not gonna apologize for calling a spade, right? We've been saying that Kyle Shanahan schemes guys open and has been getting guys open in space. And we've been told that we're just not being accurate about that and that, he doesn't know how to utilize these guys. He's not getting guys open. And then we turn to Twitter and we see guys talking about how Brandon Ayuk is beating man-to-man coverage, and we watch the clip and it's zone. Like this is a Kyle play call that's getting Brandon Ayuk open. This isn't Brandon Ayuk winning. It's one of those things right now. It's just funny. People can't make up their mind. They want to blame somebody, but they don't know who to blame. And so they just start, like pulling names out of a hat.
Well, yeah.
It's a piece of cheese and it's got a name on it. They go, it's Kyle, and they throw it, and they grab the hat. Kyle, and they throw it, and then they grab it.
The problem is playing blame game. Let's not play blame game. Let's just say, you know what, mistakes happen in football. That's why famously the Seahawks have Honest Monday. Where they'll go in there and they look at the film, and Pete Carroll did this all the way back at USC.
True.
And they look at the film and they're honest about their play, and that's what happens. That you're honest about your play. You realize you're going to make mistakes during the game. Every single football player makes mistakes, and you have to look at yourself and be like, I can do better on this. I got to do better on that. There's no reason to throw blame. Everyone realizes it. It's not one person's fault. When you're losing close football games like this, one little thing, one way or the other, it doesn't go your way, and that's what football's about. That's why it's one of the best games in the world, if not the best game in the world. Because you have 11 guys playing together at one time with one common goal, and you have to get more of your guys to do it right than the other side does. And if you do, you're going to have a successful play. And if you don't, you're not. And that's just as simple as it is.
I've said this before, and I've talked to you about this, when I was first coming up coaching, and I was coaching both basketball and football. We talked about this a lot. And you always used to ask me, which sport do you like coaching more? And I always used to say, I love coaching football more because of that dynamic. The 11-on-11 dynamic, there's more pieces, There's more things to do. It's harder to coach. Truly is harder. And you said, but where do you feel you have more success? I said, 100% basketball. Less players, less things. One person can be a complete difference maker. And if you have that one person and you know how to use that one person, you can change the entire dynamic of a game. You watched a playoff game of mine where I had one really, really talented point guard, and they rotated 11 different guys on him, Ant. 11 different guys on him to try and get him to slow him down and prevent him from scoring. Single-handedly kept us into the game all the way until the fourth quarter of that basketball game. Basketball, not many pieces on the board. It means it's a lot easier to control those pieces if you have one piece that stands out above the rest, right? You have a queen playing against a bunch of rooks. You can do a lot of different things on that basketball court with that one piece. In football, you may have a queen, but they got 10 pieces. They got 11 other guys out there in space that they can find ways to do. And even if they're not all queens, you can still win football games by knowing how to move your pieces properly, set up that defense, and slow down, right, that attack and that piece that they have, that weapon on offense. Football's a tough game. And sometimes you can call everything perfectly, and if a guy's just not in the right spot, it's not going to matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's the thing. That's why it's all about execution. It's all about consistency. And that's what you hear the players talk about all the time. And right now, the 49ers aren't executing and aren't consistent.
You know that,
and right. So they're losing games, and they got to fix that. And I like the way that Kyle Shanahan was answering, questions on Monday. And he said, he knows it's on him. He understands people are disappointed. Feels like the fans have been very supportive of them, but he understands where they're coming from. And he took some of the onus on it, for himself. He understands that it falls on him. It's a movie, but I remember the Titans. Herman Boone says, "I've never seen an assistant coach's name, in the paper for a loss," and that is the truth. It falls on the head coach. The buck stops with Kyle Shanahan. He understands that, and he's got to make sure that they're winning football games, and he's going to try to do that.
But I thought that he didn't understand it. All these people saying that he just doesn't take any onus or any accountability for anything.
It's fine. He did right now. So whether they think he did or not, this time he did. He took onus for what is going on, and that'll go a long way with his players. You know what I mean? It will. It'll show. And he's been saying this, I guarantee, the whole time inside the building. He's been telling the players, "Hey, look, I can be better. I know it. I got to be better."
Why are the players coming out and saying, "Hey, we're not executing. We got the pieces in house. We know we can do this. We haven't been doing our job. We haven't been consistent." The reason why the players are saying that is because Kyle Shanahan has come up and been like, "Hey, guys, I'm failing you. I'm obviously failing you. There's something that I'm not doing to get this through to all of you and to get us where we need to be, because there's no reason for us to not be there. This is the same stuff that we've been doing. We have pieces that are similar to the success we had in 2019. We're just not executing at that same level. That falls on me. I've done something different. I've changed something. I've done something that's no longer working for us. I got to find a way." Guys aren't going to hear that message, turn around and come out in the media and be like, "Yeah, Kyle sucks." Right? They're going to hear that and be like, "Man, my coach is in here telling me how he's letting us down."
Yeah.
And we're all sitting here watching the film going, "No, I got to make that block," right? So what is the message going to be coming from the team coming out of the locker room when they're talking to the media and they're asking them questions about what's going on? We're not getting it done. We're not doing it. They wouldn't come out and say that unless Kyle Shanahan is sitting there looking them dead in the eyeballs and being like, "This is all me. I'm not doing enough for you," right? "I haven't done enough to get you guys to where you need to be."
Well, in the same regard, if Kyle Shanahan didn't do that, he would lose his locker room.
Correct. They would be throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, because 100%, when you admit when you're wrong or when you're failing or you're not meeting expectations that you have for yourself and for the team can also look at themselves and do the same thing. It gives them permission to do so as well. And then everyone becomes accountable. And accountability is one of the biggest things that happens in a locker room. That's when I hate when people outside the locker room try to talk about the locker room dynamic, because you don't know what's actually going in there. It doesn't matter if you played for the team last year, 2 years ago, 3 years. It doesn't matter. It changes every single year with every single new player that you add.
And and anyone that's been in a locker room, knows that.
100%.
So anyone that's out there now that's been in a locker room making comments like that, the only reason you're making those comments is because you're getting paid by someone to make those comments.
Yeah.
And you're not being honest or genuine about what's going on. Locker room stuff stays in the locker room.
It should stay in the locker room. And the thing is if you are one of those guys that have switched to the media and you start doing this stuff, because Mike Golick used to talk about this a lot. When he became media, he would tell things that on air that he shouldn't have told, and people stopped talking to him. And that's what's going to happen is players are going to stop talking to other players because you're getting some of these takes about what's going on in that locker room. And you're talking about a very private team, a franchise that has no leaks. And all of a sudden you start getting this thing, they're gonna batten down the hatches, especially if they feel like their backs are against the wall. So don't be surprised if they don't even get more quiet.
I was just saying, and it's contributing, right? The comments coming out are contributing to their backs being up against the wall. It's not helping them or alleviating pressure. It's pushing the pressure even further, backing them up even further to that wall and that cliff that they're on and this team is on. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Well, it can make them dangerous.
Also true.
You put somebody in that situation and
Wounded animal, Ant.
Oh, it's true. You become dangerous. I mean, when you're in situations where your season is at a tipping point and it can go the wrong way real quick, you just fall and let it go, or you rise up and you do something. And we'll see how they're going to handle Halloween. If they rise up and go ahead and take care of the Bears, they're not out of the woods, but they're definitely right back in this. Because even as bad as they've played over these last 4 weeks, the 49ers are still one game out of the playoffs.
A single game. And the team that's in front of them, the Minnesota Vikings, they play them this season.
They do.
So you can easily make that football game up.
Yeah, 100. There's a lot of games left, right? We have 11 games left.
No, Ant, we suck.
11 games is a lot of football.
Bro, it don't matter. We suck.
Just chill, bro.
We deserve better.
You need to chill.
We deserve better. Look, there were other news and other things going on, right? Jaquiski Tartt now. There's definitely a bone bruise injury that he was dealing with. May have impacted his play. Maybe explains why he's pass interferencing late in the football game, which you hate to see. But that's going to keep him out a couple of weeks. The 49ers made some moves. They went and signed Tony Jefferson to the practice squad. Surprise, surprise, Ant, or standard.
Oh, yeah, that's a solid move. He's a guy they had in training camp that understands the defense. Someone you feel comfortable with playing around the box. Similar skill set to Jaquiski Tartt, guy that's played at a high level in the league. When it comes to Tartt, I know there was a point in the game where Tartt missed a tackle on the running back, and he was out for the next series, and they said, we think Tartt got benched for Hufanga. In fact, it seems like he had a bone bruise, and he was trying to battle through it, which could explain why he couldn't get back on the deep drops. He was out there gutting it out. Big ups to him because he stayed primarily healthy all through the season after being injured during training camp. But this is going to be a little bit of a blow to that back end because the safety position has been pretty stout for the 49ers this year. They've been consistent. They haven't created turnovers. They haven't done any of the flashy things. But they've been very good in the run fits, and they've been very good on the back end of making sure they don't get beat consistently. I thought that tandem of Jimmy Ward and Tartt have played well together. So now we're going to get somebody else. It looks like it's going to be Talanoa Hufanga. He's going to be the guy that plays in that role. So let's see what the Rook has. I think he's got a lot of ability. But now I look for their defense to change a little bit. Right now they've been going with left and right because Tartt and Ward can do so much. They can play left and right safety. But with Talanoa Hufanga, you might go to more of a traditional strong safety and free safety. Let Hufanga play in the box and let Jimmy Ward play the coverage skills. So that could be a little bit of change to the defense. If there's ever a week that that might work out for the 49ers, it's this one because Hufanga in the box against Justin Fields sounds pretty darn good to me because Justin Fields, another guy that's athletic, and you'll need guys around the box. But they can blitz Justin Fields in a big way. I know that's a little bit of a look ahead, but I don't mind Hufanga being in there. I'm curious what he can do. I would rather have Tartt at this point, but I think Hufanga is developing into something in the future.
Absolutely, and this gives you a good idea of it too. I mean, this is a great week for this to happen. It's never a good week for anyone to go down, but just like last week when you lost Trent Williams there on the O-line, we kept saying it wasn't the end of the world in all honesty, because if there was a week for it to happen against this front, against the Colts, it was the week you want it to happen, because now Trent can get healthy for this much better front of the defense with the Chicago Bears. Same thing here. Justin Fields has been not a great thrower of the football and guy who does a great job of maneuvering the pocket and knowing when to get rid of the football, which means you're going to have an inexperienced safety out there that you can put in a position to be successful, maybe slowing down the run game or getting after the quarterback with blitzes. This is the week. This is the week to do it, Ant. It just makes sense for this to happen. Last year, it seemed like we were having inopportune injuries at the wrong times. This year, for the most part, other than the quarterback injuries, the last few weeks, injuries have been happening at times that aren't necessarily detrimental to the 49ers. They can still find a way to have success. But yeah, it's definitely going to change the way they attack and the way they scheme up defense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does. And anytime you lose a player, especially a player of Tartt's caliber, that has that flexibility that you were going to have, it changes the way you're going to attack.
100%.
So it is going to change things. You heard him talk about in the broadcast about when they didn't have Shark, how it changed the way that he was able to call defense. And now that Shark's back, he calls it a certain way. He brings him off the edge. I think the similar thing happens with Tartt, but let's see how much Hufanga's developed. And really, it's in the pass game. I mean, that's where we really need to see the development early on in the season. Him struggling with the Devontae Adams coverage, him and Diamador Lenore. But we're a long way from there, and he's gotten some extra snaps since then, so they've had some confidence in his ability.
True.
So I am curious to see how he plays. I know if you're running a screen pass with Talanoa Hufanga around, you better have your head on a swivel because the dude's going to come take it off. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing him fly around, bring the wood, crack some people, maybe cause some turnovers. I want to see if the turnover game does go up with Hufanga on the field for more snaps.
That would be glorious if it would, Ant, because we need to find a way to capitalize and get those turnovers. Get the ball back in the offense's hands. We haven't done it consistently.
No, I mean, last game we actually created turnovers.
We did.
There were missed opportunities, of course, for turnovers. A lot of that I contribute to, the weather conditions. So cornerbacks don't usually have the best hands. That's why they're cornerbacks. The fact that they couldn't make interceptions doesn't, shock me by any means.
No.
But what I do like is there were opportunities. Because over the other weeks, I mean, the ball would get knocked out on fumbles, but really interception opportunities weren't there. This week there was fumble and interception opportunities.
You had, I think, 2 or 3 fumble opportunities. I know that for sure it was 2, and you had 3, maybe 4 interception opportunities. Yeah, the Niners had a chance to walk out of this game with 7 turnovers, or 7 forced turnovers, and that would have led to a 49ers win. It would have been a 49ers shellacking.
You sure would hope so. I'm not going to put anything as a for sure because the 49ers offense was completely flatlined for the middle part of this game.
True.
But you would sure as heck like to think with that many opportunities they would have cashed in on a couple of them.
They only need to cash in on 2 or 3.
They only need to cash in on 2 and you'd have won.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, you cash in on 2 and you win that football game. But also if you cash in on 2, getting those turnovers itself would have taken the points off the board. So you would have been for the Colts. So you would have been in a situation where you're potentially blowing that team out.
Could be. It does flip things. Yeah,
100% changes the entire dynamic and the flow of things. But there's other things going on, other roster moves being made, specifically one that you and I are both really excited about, and that is Jordan Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Being off the suspension list, and practice window opened. We're going to get this guy back.
Yeah, this is great news because even though I like Arden Key, I do believe Jordan Willis is a big-time improvement, especially in the pass rush area.
Mm-hmm.
He's proven, especially in training camp and what we saw in preseason, to be a guy that can bend the corner and bring some speed rush from the outside. I like him. I like his ability. I like the way he plays low. I thought he developed nice under Chris Kasarik last year, and I'm waiting for him to make a big jump this year. So I think the defensive end rotation for the 49ers just got a lot better. But now they're going to have to make some decisions on what they're going to do with this deep line. I know we have guys injured, so they're going to have to maneuver and figure guys out. We'll see what happens, but this guy's a nice added dynamic to have. I think he'll be good setting the edge against the run and then getting after the passer. I think he is an improvement over Arden Key. So let's see what roster moves they make off of it.
100%. There's going to be a lot of roster moves that come out of this, but you were 100% right. The development from Jordan Willis so far has been phenomenal. All throughout last year, from the start, when you grabbed him to the time the season ended, you could see the jump that he was making. It was like, man, can't wait till this guy gets a full year with Chris Kasarik. And the preseason and the practices at Levi's, it was like, oh boy, this guy right here, Jordan Willis, looks like he's ready to take a big step with this group and in this system, right? And a guy that could be a potential setup guy for the 49ers leading into the D Ford stuff. This is actually great news because there's issues right now with D Ford and with Azeez Al-Shaiir, both guys being in concussion protocol. Funny. Azeez Al-Shaiir goes into concussion protocol post-game. D Ford, concussion protocol post-game. Patrick Mahomes, totally fine. Nothing to see here, Ant. Someone make it make sense to me. I already know the reason why. NFL, you're a joke when it comes to the concussion stuff. I don't want to hear a word from anybody about how they take it seriously. We all know that they don't, especially after that Mahomes hit that he took and him looking like he had no clue what way up was, what way down was, where he was. Mommy. That's what it looked like to me out there. But hey, Azeez going down in the concussion protocol, not great for the 49ers. D Ford in concussion protocol, not great for the 49ers. But if you do end up having to miss some time with D Ford because of concussion protocol, thank God a guy like Jordan Willis is coming back into the fold, into the fold with this group. I like the things that he's already put on paper, and I want to see how he develops continually with this group.
I don't want to be without D Ford or Azeez because both of them are going to be perfect for going against Justin Fields because he's an athletic guy and you need speed guys on the outside. And I mean, even though Arden Key has been a nice addition, he hasn't been playing to the level that any of us anticipated, and he hasn't really been very good against very athletic quarterbacks.
No.
So Jordan Willis, D Ford, and Samson Ebicom are guys that we could use that could be out there in those situations that we need. And as far as Jordan Willis goes, I mean, we saw him do training camp. He was beating. Everyone's talking about how good Jalen Moore was. Jordan Willis would beat Jalen Moore
easily,
and he would bend the corner on him. And we all saw that. Moore did a pretty good job against Kwity Paye. He was a first-round pick. Jordan Willis is already better than Kwity Paye right now. I know he's been in the league for a little bit, but he's playing at a higher level than Kwity Paye. So
100%.
that is the kind of player that you're going to be adding to this roster. I'm just trying to give a dynamic so people understand how well he was playing at this point. And so you're going to get some production from him. I'm not going to go out there and tell you he's going to make a lot of big time plays, but he can get you a sack, a sack in a game. He can go and make a few tackles. And that's what you need from rotation. And we need this rotation to be solid. A lot of people are calling for this defensive line to put even more pressure on, and I think he can help.
100%. You're not wrong there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what impact he's going to have with this roster and what moves they make. Like you talked about, the moves to free up the roster space in order to get this guy into the fold, into this group is going to be very interesting. Maybe we have a little bit of an idea of what that may be with the whole Deebo Samuel returning kickoffs.
Could be, yeah.
It could be the Trenton Cannon move out of here, see you later, bye-bye, as they make room for this guy, and they make more decisions in terms of what they're doing with that D-line. That would buy them a little bit of time to make extra decisions and additional decisions. But Kyle made some comments. We talked a little bit about some of them, right? Him owning some of the issues with this team as the head coach, with the team not executing, doing other things. But he also talked about how it's not time, Ant, to fold on the season. And he brought up specifically a football team that he used to coach, ironically enough, called the football team. That started off, what was it, 3-6? 3-6 at the very bottom of their division, Ant. Things not going well, and turning it around and making the playoffs.
Yeah, it's in fact the 2012 season where he has Robert Griffin III as a rookie quarterback. They start the season 3-6, and they're losing in the NFC East, and they go on a run, and they win 7 straight games, and they win the division. They finish 10-6. So he's not ready to end the season right now. He's not ready to cash it in. He sees that opportunity still there to make the playoffs. There's actually an extra game, for the 49ers. In fact, more games than that because they had played 9 at that point. So the 49ers know that there's an opportunity still to turn it around. It doesn't mean they're going to win the division because Arizona is not playing at a low level. They're playing at a high level, and they're 7-0. But there is an opportunity to make the playoffs. They're right there within striking distance. They can get it done. And I think that's what Kyle's saying. And Kyle also mentioned that he wasn't ready to start playing the rookies just to get them experience. They haven't reached that point in the season yet. So we have talked about this a long time. The decision for Trey Lance is getting closer, but the decision for all the other players is farther down the road because when you start making those moves, you will lose some of the locker room guys. Some of the guys will start to kind of check out. These veteran guys, they're in there playing to win. They want to win a championship. They want to go for it. So you have to know when to make that move. Now, if the 49ers are sitting at 2-8, 2-9, those veteran players understand then that what you're doing and they'll all be okay with it. But that's not the case right now. You're 2-4, you're a game back, and that's what every single player is looking at. Wait, we're a game back from making the playoffs. We can still get it done.
If you're one of those people right now, a 49er fan who's calling for the blow-it-ups right now, and Kyle Shanahan turns around and blows it up, right, and starts putting in the young guys and we start looking to deal, there's not a big-name free agent who's going to look at this football team and want to come play here. You're not going to have veteran guys who are going to want to come play for Kyle Shanahan, knowing that as soon as things get a little rough, and you don't have the start you want, even though you're a game back from making the playoffs, that your head coach is going to go, hey, you know what? Time to fold on the season. We have no opportunities, no chances. We can't get 1 or 2 mistakes cleaned up and get ourselves back in a football game and put us right back in the hunt. Time to just move on. You guys are all washed. No vet player in the league will want to come play for an organization that is willing to pack up and fold when you're 1 game back of playoff contention.
Especially when the organization's already playing behind the 8 ball because they play in California. Taxes are outrageous in California. So players make less money for the same contract than they would in like Florida or Texas or, Nevada, where they can get the same amount of money and don't have state taxes. Those are all things that play into it. So as a 49ers, it has to be about what is going on in the locker room. It has to be about believing in the football team. So they need to win to be able to get players to come there. I mean, players came there early on for the money because the 49ers could outpay everyone because they had so much salary cap space. Now that's not the case. People want to come here to win football games. That's why Alex Mack came here. He came here to win football games.
True.
Trent Williams re-upped to win football games and play for Kyle Shanahan. You're right, 100%. If you finish right now, and this happened in a real game. I was an assistant coach one year. I was in high school, and one of the kids came up to me and he said, "Coach, they're quitting on us. You can't let this happen." He was talking about the rest of the coaching staff because in the third quarter, they put other players in and just started basically giving up, and we were down 2 touchdowns. And I went to the head coach. I'm like, hey, we're not ready. We can't give up on this. We need to keep our starters in. And he didn't. And the game got out of control and we lost. And he lost the locker room. And that's what happens. If the team feels like you give up on them, that's how you can lose the locker room real quick. The one that didn't lose the locker room was me. And that's unfortunate. I tried to bridge the gap and I couldn't do it. But yeah, you can't do that. You can't give up on the players. And the players will respect that. You go down with the ship. Those rookie players, do they want to play? Yes, but do they understand what is going on? Yes. So everyone understands right now what the deal is. They know they need to win football games, but it ain't ready to go down right now. You've got a leak. You got a leak in the boat, but you're not ready to let it go down. Get down there with those tubs and empty the water.
Here's the best part too. It's not even like you don't know where the leak is. It's very obvious where the leak is.
Oh yeah,
everyone can see where the leak is.
Is it a quarterback?
Well, here's the thing though. People want to blame reasons for why the leak exists, right? The lack of execution. Yeah. It's Kyle Shanahan. Lack of execution. Jimmy Garoppolo. Everyone's got a reason for why there's a hole in the boat. But nobody right now is wanting to go, hey, yeah, you know what? There's a hole in the boat. Let's just fix this. Because all of us as a unit, right, as a group, can fix this. Fan base, if you don't believe that all 11 guys can play a part in fixing the hole, right? Tight ends do a better job of blocking and making sure Jimmy Garoppolo can take the shots downfield. Michael Hasty, don't slip down the sideline when Jimmy Garoppolo actually does throw a dime that would have extended a drive. Jimmy, don't go to Deebo Samuel, on the sideline in tight coverage when you have them basically shading three guys over that side of the field and the middle of the field's wide open. Pre-snap, it's wide open. Post-snap, it's even more wide open. All of these things are fixable. None of these things aren't fixable. Everything that is going on right now is a conglomeration of every player. You know, Jay Hill yesterday on Face-Off went off about the DBs specifically. Well, Josh Norman had a PI. Manuel Mosley had a PI. Jaquiski Tartt had a PI. There's a lot of guys who had PIs. It's not one guy that's making a mistake. It's a host of guys. All of these guys can clean this stuff up. All of these guys can get better. All of us can, every single one of the players on this football team can find a way to make one or two plays of a difference in a football game. Kyle talked about Jalen Moore. He said he sat down and watched the play with Jalen Moore and said, you had your welcome to the NFL moment, right, kid? You played 60 snaps. Maybe you played 4 or 5 bad ones, and you're sitting there watching your 4 or 5 bad ones and going, man, if I play better on those 4 or 5 snaps, maybe we win a football game. And he goes, and I'm glad that you look at that and feel that way. It's not the reality. It's not like the honest to God truth. You should feel that way. He goes, but that's what the NFL is. You could play 55 great snaps and play 5 bad ones, and those 5 bad ones could be the difference in winning or losing a football game.
Yeah, it could. And in the same regard, all you're trying to do when you have, especially a kid like that, and I guarantee this is a coaching point, if he had 5 bad plays in those 60 snaps, they want you next game to have 4 bad plays.
Yep.
And 3 bad plays after that, and 2 bad plays. And you're just trying to be consistently better. That's what it comes down to. Everyone in that locker room understands, and everyone that plays football understands you're going to make a mistake. There is no way around it. No one plays a perfect football game. If you play a perfect football game, those one of those ones you hold to the highest of regards. It just doesn't happen. Everyone makes a mistake. Even Jerry Rice, as great as he was, he would miss blocks or he would, fall down on an open route. Everyone did it. And if you enhance and over talk about those and over exert yourself on breaking those plays down, you're going to have problems. But yeah, these players are going to be hypercritical of themselves. That is understandable. But you just have to move on. You have to work on consistency, and that's what they're going to do. But everyone makes mistakes, and that's just the key. You just hope they make mistakes in situations that don't come back to hurt you. And when they do, like Ross Dwelley, having a little bit of a struggle there. Jimmy isn't able to get the ball off to a wide open Brandon Ayuk. That could have been a big play. Jimmy later on not making the right read and getting the ball to an open Mohamed Sanu, which would have been a big play. Jimmy maybe not trusting his ability to get the ball to Deebo Samuel earlier or to get it out to Mohamed Sanu on the sideline on that play. We don't know. I mean, there was a safety there behind Deebo Samuel on the play on the rollout.
There was.
If it's a dry game, maybe Jimmy tries it and gets the ball to Deebo. It would have taken a good throw to get there.
Do you mean to tell me that the weather may have play a factor in terms of how quarterbacks threw the football?
100%. You can't say it didn't. It even did in game plan, right?
Well, it did with Carson Wentz too. Carson Wentz was still taking deep shots. Carson Wentz was throwing moon balls out there. Like Carson Wentz was huck chucking, throwing the ball 50 feet up in the air, and as he released it, was saying a little prayer, looking down at his guy and go, "Please catch it. Well, please catch it."
No, he did, but I mean, you can notice the way the ball came out of his hands, and like the one where K'Wan Williams got the PI, that ball was thrown 5 yards, underthrown. So he was struggling with the weather as well. It's not an excuse, and that's the thing. Look, if it's a bad throw because the ball slipped out of his hands or whatever, right? That is weather induced. Not locating an open receiver.
That's completely nothing to do with that,
and that's not an excuse in the rain.
No.
So there are circumstances that play into it. I think you always take those into consideration. But anything that is mental, 100% is completely on you. You have to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I missed that guy. I didn't make this play.
I got to be better.
And I think every single football player, all the way through, all 48 guys that dressed in that game, that played on that field, have to look at themselves and recognize that they probably made a mistake.
100%. I did enjoy Kyle's comments too when talking about the bootleg. People kept talking about the bootleg. We went away from the bootleg. Kyle was like, actually, we didn't. It's just circumstance and situation and down, right? Drop a couple screen passes, fumble some snaps, bad runs on second down. Now you're in 3rd and 10. Bootleg's not going to work.
They're not going to believe the play action.
No one's going to bite on the play action on 3rd and 10. There's no reason for them to just sit back in coverage. I mean, that's a coaching point at the lowest level that I can possibly remember.
Right.
Don't bite on play action on 3rd and 10. It's a pass. And if they decide to run the football, then we all rally to the football and stop them before the sticks. That's how this works. And he's not wrong in that sense. I mean, when the 49ers shoot themselves in the foot offensively and put themselves in 3rd and longs, you take away one of your best assets and attributes as a football team, which is running the football.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The mistakes that they were making on those screen passes and stuff were basically extended runs.
Yep.
Especially in a rain game, you want to get the ball out to those guys where they can create in space. That is something you do because certain parts of the fields will get eaten up a little bit, and you just want to get away. Plus, it's just harder for guys to run in the rain. So if you can get it out there, guys that are in the middle of the field might struggle to get out there a little bit. But the guys weren't able to catch the ball. Deebo Samuel dropped a couple. Jawan Jennings dropped one. And those were opportunities for the 49ers to, get it to 2nd and 5 or, 2nd and 6, whatever it is. And then the plays changed. But 49ers weren't successful on 3rd down. And a lot of that has to do with it was longer 3rd downs than normal. It's usually 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. They're able to, play those well because you can fake the run. Those are situations where you can run play action because a run play from Kyle Shanahan on 3rd and 4 is believable. Then they could have taken, a couple more shots, but they just weren't able to do that in the game. They weren't able to execute. That's what it comes down to. Every single week, it's execution. 49ers need to figure this out. Coaches, players, everyone's got to figure out how to execute more consistently. And if they do, they have an opportunity to win because they haven't been getting blown out. They've just been getting beat, not able to win the close games. And if you start winning the close games, you can turn your season around. If you don't, it gets real bad real quick. It can get
100% real bad real quick. But like you said, Ant, we're one game out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
A single football game. And there's 11 games left on the season. There is still plenty of time. You can feel whatever way you want about San Francisco. You can feel that we stink. You can feel that Jimmy sucks. You can feel Kyle's not the guy and should be out. You can feel all of those things. But if you're willing to fold on this season right now, at this point in time, you're not being honest about what the 49ers are, where they're at, or their ability to make the playoffs. Is winning the division out of reach? Most likely, especially if things continue to trend the way they are for the Arizona Cardinals. But playoffs, 7th seed, it's all doable. It's all within reach. Being able to make the playoffs as a wild card is not a crazy thought for the San Francisco 49ers right now. Is it the thing we all wanted as 49ers fans? Absolutely not. Is this the way we all envisioned the season was going to go? Under no circumstances was this in anyone's mind. However, teams have won from wild cards. Teams have won Super Bowls from wild cards. It's not about being the best team necessarily for the entirety of the season. It's about being the best team by the time it gets to the point where it matters most. And playoffs is where it matters most.
It does. And all you're trying to do is give yourself an opportunity. But right now, all the 49ers are focused on is beating Chicago. If you don't beat Chicago, none of it means anything. So you got to win. You got to win Chicago, and then you can start worrying about other things. And all they're really worried about doing is putting together more consistent plays on offense and defense.
True.
I'm going to be better on these situations. I'm not going to get penalties. I'm going to do this. You clean up mistakes. You try to play clean games. If you play clean games, they turn into wins. You start to win, then the season turns around. So that's what it's all about. It's about consistency, and I think they can get it done. Against Chicago. It's an interesting matchup. I'm ready to break this down, but
100%.
I am looking forward to seeing how they attack this season. Some good news about Jordan Willis, but I mean, hopefully Trey Lance in uniform as well. Maybe they can use up, and Kyle even admitted if he's in uniform, he will dial up some plays for him. So both of those, Jimmy and Trey playing in that football game is a good situation.
Huge.
All I know is I want wins, and I want the 49ers to win football games because I'm not ready for the season to be over. I said this last week, and I'm still not ready to cash in and just wait till next year. So let's see what they do. Even if they get into the 7th seed, I'll enjoy that playoff game. And if they win, hey, you never know. The Giants went from wild card to beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
An undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. So it can happen, and it's no time to give up right now.
No, it'd be crazy to do so. And you know what? I'm not in that boat either, Ant. You and I are on the same page here. Season is not lost, but it's definitely not where we thought it was going to be. Let us know what you're feeling about all of this down below in the comment section. You excited about Willis? Worried about Tartt? What about Trent Williams? You know, all that stuff. They're hoping he can go this week. They're hoping they're going to get him back at practice soon. They're hoping Trey can start going on Wednesday. You know, we'll update you. So make sure you're here. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell as well. And comment down below about everything we talked about today, how you're feeling, what you want to see from this team going forward. Let's have a wonderful conversation. And Ant, my goodness gracious almighty, they should probably also head on over to Patreon and check out an incredible second week in a row, consecutive hour-long Hall of Fame-worthy episode of Big Yikes.
Yeah, Big Yikes is going to be very, very good on Patreon. If you have Patreon, check it out. If you don't have Patreon and you would like to see Big Yikes, jump over there and sign up. There's a lot of tiers that you can choose, and it's going to be fun. And then later in the week, too, you can get an actual honest breakdown of our All-22 film. We're going to break it down. We're going to get into it. We're going to tell you, you know, where the mistakes are and what aren't the mistakes and what you're looking at. And if you don't want to listen to what we have to say, at least you can watch the All-22 film for yourself. Just put us on mute. But yeah, we're gonna get into it because we've said it from the beginning. If a player's making a mistake, we're gonna point it out. If it's a scheme issue, we're gonna point it out. All those things are gonna be on display. Because as coaches, that's the only way I know how to do it. I don't know how to gloss things over. I don't know how to sugarcoat them. When it comes to film, the film doesn't lie.
You don't know how to beat around the bush?
Not when it comes to film, no.
Agreed with you there, my guy. Agreed with you there. In fact, there's a thing that most of my players despised most was the brutal honesty, Ant. Nothing but being brutally honest when it came to film sessions.
Yeah, that's good.
That's always good.
I know. I used to always go.
That's a good call, man. You should definitely do that.
I used to point at the guys and do that. It was fun.
Good times.
Oh, I loved film.
I remember. You know what? I remember that was my favorite. You'd circle the guy too. You take the little thing, you'd circle him, and just look at him and be like.
Yeah, it was great. I used to love film sessions. They were wonderful.
Film sessions are always a good time. You know what, though? Now they're even more fun because it's the two of us sitting down having a nice, wonderful chat.
Oh, it is.
Good stuff.
It is. It's not all the guys behind me as I'm breaking it down. It's hard sometimes to look a person straight in the eye and be like, you messed up in a big way. Come on, man.
And you know who it wasn't hard for? Coach Collins.
Coach
Collins, it was not hard.
That is true. He had no problems with being honest.
That guy was. Some of you may be sitting there going, you know, you guys do a lot on the channel. It's crazy how much content you put out, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's on Patreon. You guys put out a lot of stuff. Coach Collins would get the game film after a 10 p.m. finish. He would drive like 45 minutes to exchange with whatever team we were playing next. Go home, watch that game film, the opposing team, then watch our game film, and come in the next morning at 6 a.m. with like 8 pages of notes and a play-by-play breakdown with every player.
Oh, yeah.
It was absolutely hysterical.
Gotta be mandatory.
Bro, his film sessions were some of my all-time favorite just moments in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Just great. Absolutely great.
He was a good coach.
Learned a lot from film study from that man. I can tell you that right now. Look, we're excited about everything we got coming out this week, whether it's on Patreon, whether it's right here on YouTube. So make sure you join the Cutback crew today. Help us get to 2K if we're not already there already. And if we are there, skyrocket us to the moon. 3K, here we come. 5K, here we come. 10, I won't get ahead of myself that far. But until the next one, Cutback crew, 49ers faithful, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.